On a cold December morning in 1135, England found itself on the brink of a crisis. King Henry I, who had ruled with a firm hand, was dead. The question of succession, so often a source of stability or chaos, now loomed large over the kingdom. Henry had no surviving sons. His only legitimate heir was his daughter Matilda. She was a formidable woman, married to the Holy Roman Emperor, and had been named as Henry's successor. But England, like much of medieval Europe, was not accustomed to the idea of a female ruler. This reluctance set the stage for one of the most dramatic power struggles in English history. Enter Stephen of Blois, a nephew of Henry III. Stephen was no stranger to the royal court. Raised alongside Henry's children, he had always been in close proximity to power. But his ambitions went beyond mere proximity. As soon as word of Henry's death reached him, Stephen acted with a speed and decisiveness that would define his claim to the throne. At the time, he was in Boulogne, across the Channel. He wasted no time in crossing to England, moving quickly to secure his place in history. Stephen's swift return to England was not just about being the first to claim the throne. It was about securing the support of the English barons, who held immense power. These barons, many of whom had grown weary of the centralized authority Henry had imposed, saw in Stephen a return to the old ways, where their autonomy would be respected. Stephen, ever the charmer, promised to restore the liberties of the church and the nobility, winning their favor. When Stephen arrived in London, he found the city welcoming him with open arms. London was the heart of the kingdom, both politically and economically, and its support was crucial. Stephen's charm, his promises, and the strategic support of his brother, Henry of Blois, who was the Bishop of Winchester, quickly turned the tide in his favor. With the church's endorsement and the backing of key barons, Stephen was crowned king in Westminster Abbey on December 22, 1135. But not everyone was ready to accept Stephen's rule. Across the Channel, in Normandy, the Empress Matilda was outraged. She had been named by her father as his heir, and she was determined to enforce her claim. However, in the immediate aftermath of her father's death, she found herself outmaneuvered by Stephen's swift actions. The English throne, which should have been hers by right, had been seized by her cousin. For now, Stephen held the reins of power. His coronation had the appearance of legitimacy, and he controlled the treasury and the royal castles, key sources of his newfound strength. But Stephen's rule was built on a fragile foundation. The barons who supported him were fickle, and their loyalty was often bought rather than earned. Moreover, the oath they had sworn to Henry I to support Matilda's succession still weighed heavily on the conscience of some. In the winter of 1135 and into 1136, cracks began to show in Stephen's reign. Discontent simmered, and the whispers of rebellion grew louder. Robert of Gloucester, Matilda's half-brother, was among those who refused to accept Stephen's rule. As one of the most powerful men in England, Robert's defection to Matilda's cause was a significant blow to Stephen's authority. It signaled the beginning of a broader resistance movement that would soon engulf the kingdom. Stephen, aware of the growing threat, attempted to consolidate his power by distributing lands and titles to those who remained loyal. But this strategy had its limits. The more he gave away, the more he weakened his own position, and the more he emboldened his enemies. By trying to buy loyalty, Stephen only succeeded in sowing the seeds of further discord. The kingdom was on the brink of chaos, and Stephen's grasp on the throne was beginning to slip. As 1137 dawned, the kingdom was sliding inexorably towards civil war. Matilda, undeterred by her initial setback, was gathering her forces. Her marriage to Geoffrey of Anjou had provided her with additional military strength, and her supporters in England and Normandy were rallying to her cause. Stephen, meanwhile, was struggling to maintain the loyalty of the barons who had once backed him. His promises of reform and a return to traditional governance were beginning to wear thin. By 1138, the tensions that had been simmering for the past 3 years finally boiled over. The kingdom was divided, with Stephen controlling the south and east of England, while Matilda's supporters held the west and north. The stage was set for a prolonged and bloody conflict, known to history as the Anarchy. This civil war would drag on for nearly 2 decades, tearing the kingdom apart as Stephen and Matilda fought for the right to rule. Stephen of Blois had seized the throne in 1135, but the crown he claimed was anything but secure. His reign was marked by conflict betrayal, and bloodshed, a testament to the fierce rivalries and high stakes of the medieval struggle for power. As the Civil War raged on, the question of who would ultimately rule England remained as uncertain as ever. The throne was a prize that many sought, but few could hold without challenge. And that's the story of how Stephen of Blois seized the English throne, setting off a chain of events that plunged the kingdom into years of civil war. If you enjoyed this dive into medieval history, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more tales from the past. Leave a comment below. Do you think Stephen was justified in taking the crown, or should Matilda have ruled? Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring history.